Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review for the ViewSonic XG2703-GS. Now this monitor can be found for a whopping £700 on Amazon.co.uk and $800 on Amazon USA. Links will be down in the description below, including a link to ViewSonic's specs page, and on top of that, a link to TFT Central's description of the panel type, which is AHVA, which I'll get into in just a second. Now, you might be thinking, it's a lot of money, what do you get for that ridiculous amount of money for a monitor? Well, you get a 27-inch display, runs at 165 Hz. That is overclockable, factory overclockable. As default, it comes 144 Hz. You have to enable via the OST, which I'll show you in a second. It's IPS type, as I said. It's running a slight variation of IPS. It has G-Sync on it, and it's a 1440p monitor, therefore 2560 times 1440 is what you're looking at. It also has 4 milliseconds G2G response time, which is pretty much standard given the monitor type, and it has HDMI 1.4 and DisplayPort 1.2 input. I would highly suggest you run it on DisplayPort 1.2 because you can get the full flurry of the response time and the colors with DisplayPort versus HDMI that can only run 60 Hz at the max resolution. So those are pretty much all the specs you're gonna want to need. At the back, you also get a USB 3.0 port, which you can connect up to your PC, and you have external USB ports that you can use. I think it's 4 in total, or 2 on the side of the monitor, 2 at the bottom, and you've got a audio jack out, which is always useful to have, and you've got 2 times 2 watt speakers, which are completely useless in terms of actual music, but if you want to use them for Windows notification, then that is probably the best thing you're going to use them for. Anything else in that, like VESA, you've got 100 times 100 millimeter. Again, you can find all these things on the specs page. Make sure you check them in the description below. Now, quite interestingly enough, this monitor very much is similar to the Asus ROG Swift PG279Q. Exact same specs, and I make sure you check that review. It'll be in the description below as well, because these monitors go basically toe-to-toe with each other in terms of specs and in terms of price point. Now, in terms of the build quality of the monitor, I'm very much impressed. It's got a pretty low bezel design, even though it might seem a bit chunky because of the placement of the display versus the bezels, but nevertheless, it has a very nice display. It doesn't draw your eyes to the bezels so much. It's got full sort of functionalities. You can fully pivot it 180, up and down and tilt. Due to its viewing angles of IPS, you've got fantastic angles you can see it from. I don't see many people having a problem with that when they're sitting at their desk, but nevertheless, always good to know. The stand is very sturdy, it doesn't wobble, and you've got a little light at the bottom over here, which is green at the moment. You can have red and you can have blue, or you can have it on auto. You can set that to also off via the OSD, and I'll show you that in just a second. And finally, in terms of its design, I just want to say that it's a nice step for ViewSonic, because previously I haven't been too impressed with ViewSonic's build quality, and this one, given its price point, I must say it's quite nice. However, what I am not impressed at all about is the OSD buttons. Now, you won't be able to see them, they're positioned at the back, but I'm just going to open up the OSD, and I'm just changing the EV of my camera so you guys can see. Now, the buttons, I mean, the setting of the OSD is pretty good. What you get is very comprehensive, and I'm very much impressed with that. But the actual buttons and using the buttons is an absolute pain. I'm not going to lie, it's absolute pain. ViewSonic, what are you thinking about with these buttons? I just really didn't like it at all. So anyway, it's just a small little niggle. More the fact that people are not going to really use it that often, so it's not the biggest deal, but nevertheless it's something I should point out. So there you go, I'm just really struggling in terms of getting the menu setting I want. Okay. Right, so let's go into the menu and go into view mode. There we go. So I'm on standard view mode right now. You can see ULMB is disabled because I'm on 165 Hz and have G-Sync enabled. So yes, it does have G-Sync, if I didn't mention that already. Adaptive contrast dark boost are disabled. It's got a blue light filter, which I don't have enabled, but you can. Response time ultra fast is what I've got it set at, and I'll get into that in just a second. If I go back into color adjust, I've got contrast at 50, brightness 100, although I do turn that down just a little bit for its colors to about, I think 83, which I normally go for, 84, whatever it is. Saturation 100, 6-axis color I haven't touched. The color temperature is actually user color is what I prefer. If I go the R, I leave 100. Oh my god, your OSD. Yeah, and I put that just a little lower, which is the G a little bit lower, and the blue I think is still 100. So just 99 on the G. That's what I felt calibrated quite well. That's all I really wanted to show you really, but it's just taking so hard to do. It's so hard to do this. It's got gamma control, input range as well, which is always useful. You can also over here go through the overclocking options, native, which is 144 Hz or 165. It's not guaranteed to always work. In my case it did, so no problems there. And then in terms of the setup menu, you've got a resolution notice, which I highly suggest to turn off. And the power indicators, you can see fixed color over here. You can have it on auto as well, or you can have it off completely. And then you've got eco mode, power standby USB charging, and then sleep modes, which are always useful. So the OSD is very, very complete. I really like it, but in terms of its actual use, it's absolutely horrendous. So now let's go in terms of the panel quality. It's using an IPS type technology. How does it look? I must say I'm very impressed. I can't say it's as impressive as some other IPS displays, but in comparison to the Asus ROG that I previously reviewed, it very much is accurate and exactly in terms of the type of technology I would expect, in terms of the colors, sorry, that I'd expect. You got nice deep blacks over here, or deep blue, shall I say, deep blacks at the bottom. White point is accurate. Colors aren't overly saturated, they pop quite well. Although I must say, even though with a little bit of calibration in terms of color, I did feel the colors are very, very slightly washed out. I would have just liked a little bit of a deeper color. I think that would be easily adjusted via custom ICC profile, which is a custom color profile, but out the box, nevertheless, fantastic colors. Very much impressed. Could have been slightly better, as I said, but to be honest, impressive nonetheless. I'm not complaining in terms of video or photo editing. I'm sure this monitor will be fantastic for you guys who are interested in that. In terms of general browsing, no problems whatsoever. Now let's get into the most important part of all, CSGO, as in how does it perform in terms of gaming. So if the game is going to allow me to select, obviously not, it's going to be a pain, it always is. So in terms of the monitor, I had no problems with gaming. It's actually very impressive. It's one of ViewSonic's most impressive displays when it comes to gaming. I must say, very much impressed of how well it performs, and more so the ghosting / overshoot when used on ultra fast mode is actually very not very noticeable at all, and very impressive. So I'm just gonna go to my favorite spot in D2 long, not in terms of matchmaking, but in terms of actually using the monitor. Now, one thing you might notice is that there is very slight amount of blur when you use it without it being used on ultra fast mode. Now, it is very slight, but it is noticeable, at least to me. So if you're going to be using competitively, I would highly suggest you using it. I would highly suggest you using it on ultra fast mode. So hopefully you'll be able to see this, but I'm just going to go in this terrible button. There we go. Go down into standard, that, and then response time. Okay, so if you look at that wall over here, you can maybe be able to see slight blurring, which is the overshoot right there. If I turn it to standard, you can see that completely disappears. Hopefully my camera is able to pick that up, and hopefully you guys are able to see that. But there's slight darkness over here, and when I go standard, it completely eliminates. But on standard mode, it feels that it's too slow when I'm using it with my mouse, but then I turn it to ultra fast and suddenly it's a lot more responsive. So I highly suggest, if you're a competitive gamer, to use it on ultra fast. And to be honest, the overshoot over here in terms of ghosting is very minimal, and therefore very impressive in terms of how it performs. So you might pretty much gather what are my thoughts and what I think about the monitor. In terms of gaming performance, it's fantastic. The fact you have G-Sync enabled means that you can actually use it for more intense games, not unlike CSGO, but like say Battlefield 1 or something like that. And it's ULMB is always useful in terms of reducing motion blur if you so wish. or if you like to use it in the mode I've got, 165 Hz, I've got G-Sync enabled, but that doesn't really matter for CSGO, but then using it on ultra fast mode gives you the best of it all. So overall guys, I think the monitor is absolutely fantastic. In terms of using it, in terms of gaming, or in terms of video or photo editing, it's a lovely monitor. Would I buy it? Would I suggest it? Absolutely, just like I suggest the Asus ROG monitor. It's a fantastic monitor all around. Just it's very expensive, so do bear that in mind, but it's got everything you'd ever want in a monitor. Alright guys, I've been Tolly Dubbed. Hopefully you like this review. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Take care guys, bye bye.